Hearn tells me, tell stories. I like to hear stories, so I'm going to tell a story. And remember, this is anecdotal and it's one patient. I don't want to propose to you that everybody did what he did as well as he did, but in the end, I'm going to tell you in my research, people definitely did better. They lived longer. So it's not like what I'm telling you is that isolated. Anyhow, Bud, I was down at a cancer center near Philadelphia, in a suburb of Philadelphia, and I'm recruiting people. I would be there all day long to meet with patients and, you know, tell them, you know, that I wanted them to be part of this group. Their doctors did, and otherwise I'd be available if I could help them or their families. Anyhow, Bud comes in, and I was surprised because Bud was in a wheelchair, and I would never normally talk to a patient about a prognosis, but I know your medical records. I want to know before I talk to you, you know, what's happening. Well, Bud wasn't supposed to live 2 more months. So it's like I was surprised I'm meeting Bud at all. And then he's going to come to my class. Bud shows up, and he's in bad pain. And he's doubled over in his wheelchair, and I'm telling about guided imagery. And that you can, I used to call this Walt Disney, all you have to do is wish upon a star and your dream comes true kind of stuff. Because if you think of one level, isn't that almost what it sounds like? I can just imagine myself, well, hell, when I worked in that rehab hospital and people with strokes and major pain, I used to joke I was glad my desk was as wide as it was. You'd have reached across and slugged me. Because usually by the time you were seeing me, you had exhausted all your other medical options, and now I'm going to tell you can imagine your pain away. So again, appreciate my situation in working with Bud, and he was one of those. You must be out of your mind. But what really was interesting that night is I didn't even have to respond. The rest of the class did, and started citing personal examples or other evidence that indeed you can do this. Well, Bud kind of sat back, but I thought, well, this is Bud's last class for sure. Bud kept coming back. But here was Bud's problem. These classes went for 6 weeks. Bud's not supposed to last maybe 9. So at the end of the 6 classes, he comes to me and says, what am I supposed to do? I mean, medically, he's been told he's going to be dead now in less than a month. He said, I want to buy a new boat. Now, it's kind of fun that we can smile about this. I'm going to tell you, when you're in that situation, this is really not funny. Because, I mean, think about if you want the boat, but what about your family? Do you have any idea what your medical expenses are like? And this character wants to spend $10,000 on a new boat, and he's probably not going to be alive in a month. What would you tell him? Think about this seriously. Okay, all right, but maybe again I'm preaching to the choir, you're making this too easy. Because in the end I would tell you, live like you're going to live. I'm serious about that. But I could not and would not even to this day say, Bud, buy that boat. But I didn't say don't buy the boat. And as you might imagine where my story is headed, Bud bought the boat. And he didn't die. I'm getting emotional, I'm sorry. Bud did die by the end of that year, but we're talking many months later. Right. Bud and Shirley said they had the time of their life. Wow. And so, again, it's one of those stories that kind of, this is why you do this stuff.